Hey guys, it's coreross and welcome to 6 News. Today I'm going to go over the test server patch notes and give you my opinion on them as well. So let's get started. There's no actual release date for this test server, but I would guess within the next 24 hours is usually how it works. But because there's no actual date so far, we'll just have to wait and see. But of course that will get updated as the information becomes available. There's definitely some very interesting and exciting things in here, but there's also some very boring stuff too. But let's go over everything. So the pick and ban system will be getting added in with this test server, but only in custom games. If you don't know, this is a way of banning operators. So both teams would be able to ban an operator. That operator is actually banned for the entire game for both sides. So if you don't want a thermite to attack you, you can vote to not have a thermite on their team, but also that means you can't take a thermite too. However, there is like a spin on it later on. You can unlock one of those locked operators and then you can surprise the enemy team with that. So this is only going to be for the moment in the Pro League. It is not going to come to ranked or anything like that for now. But as they've added more operators, they do intend to implement this into ranked at some point in the future. I do like it. I think being when we have tons of operators, it'll be kind of cool to have some of them locked off. It just adds a completely new element of strategy to the game. So I like it, and this will be the first test of it. Now, of course, they're iterating their change to the recoil system. So this is their weapon sight misalignment, and it basically just means that every single shot you fire from your gun will hit exactly where your sight is aiming at that time. Whereas before there was a little bit of give. This will always hit the same point. It's probably still a long way off. Maybe the next season, maybe potentially starting next season, this will come into effect. But for the moment, it's still probably very far away from actually going live. Then we've got a change to the diffuser when it's getting disabled by the defending team. So they say that the animation has been changed and the interaction distance and conditions will be the same. So I don't know, maybe instead of whacking it with your gun, you're actually going to open it up and actually type away. But the distance that you can interact with will still be the same distance, and the audio is going to be different. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Of course, we don't have an example of it, so right now, this is all we have to go on. We'll have to just wait for the test server to drop and see what that's like. Now, the Dropshot, which wasn't supposed to be in the last test server, but was, is really cool. I like this one. It just means, and it's really simple, it means if you're going into the prone position from either standing or crouched, you get pulled out of your ADS for just a second, and it's enough to kind of mess with that drop shot and strategy, which is really simple to do. So that will be very interesting to see if they've done anything else to it since the last test server. They did say it wasn't the final version, so it'll be interesting to see if they've changed that again. We don't have much information, just this little bit of text to go on. Then we have observation tool management. With additional observation tools, which we'll get to right here in a second, they are going to change the way that you interact with your observation tools. So I guess that's like when switching cameras, because, well, we're now getting a bulletproof camera as a secondary defender gadget. Well, at least I think it's going to be defenders. It doesn't actually say, but I would guess. But it could be an attacker gadget. Like, claymores are only specific to one team, so it could be that this is only specific to one team too. We'll have to, again, there's not much information to go on, but we'll get to that in a second. So yeah, with additional observation tools, they're changing the UI. So yeah, I think flicking through the cameras, that's why I think this is probably a defender gadget, because on attack you don't have that many things to worry about, whereas on defense you have all the cameras, you have the Valkyrie cameras, anything else you might want to look through. Whereas on defense, you have the normal cameras, Valkyrie cameras, and I think these bulletproof cameras as well. So that's my kind of feeling so far, but of course, this is all we have to go on. And yes, we have bulletproof cameras being added to the game. So some operators will receive a deployable bulletproof camera as a secondary gadget. Of course, this actually could work on both teams. You could use it to cover your backs when you're attacking, or you could use it as another observation point when you're a defending team. So it could work on both teams, and could be actually maybe good like on heavier operators perhaps. Something that could be really handy, but of course that means it's going to replace something like barbed wires or impact grenades or attack claymores or frags. it has to remove something of an option from other operators. So I'll be curious how this camera works and who actually gets it and what it replaces on that character's list of gadgets that they can use. But it's a game changer. It really is a huge game changer, and to see this implemented in the game is going to be really fun. I think I'm actually looking forward to playing on the test server and seeing how this plays out, because I can't imagine how good this could be, or how much of a letdown it might end up being. And you know, do you get one? Do you get two? Now the other thing, this is great. I suggested this a long time ago, and I'm glad they've decided to go with something like this, which is changing the operator speeds. So they're actually making 3 speeds slightly slower. So the really fast operators are making them slightly slower, and they're making the 1-speed operators slightly faster. So it basically just means that all 3 speeds will just be closer together with their capabilities of moving. So that's really all it's going to be. But they are also doing 2 additional things, which is they're going to make a small increase to movement speed when with handguns out. So if you don't already know, then Mythbusters ages ago, because I still see people who like put their shields away and run with their pistols because they think it's faster, but it's not. However, I'm going to have to go bust that myth now, because, or actually confirm that myth, because they're going to be actually able to run faster with their handguns out. So that's really cool, but it does not include automatic sidearms, which I think is a great little addition. That's cool. And the other thing they're doing is they're taking away the movement shield penalty if you put the shield on your back as well. You'll be able to move faster. All really interesting ideas, and will certainly help speed up operators and slow down the 3 speeds. So very interested how that will play out as well. So there's a lot of stuff that's going to be really interesting to test. And then Echo's getting a buff. Now, if you didn't already know, we're not getting any mid-season reworks off operators. This time it's just a rebalancing, it's just tweaks. So there's nothing about any reworks. That'll come at the beginning of the new season. And that'll probably be cast, so that's my best, guess. But they are giving Echo a buff, which is simply giving him a second drone. I don't know if that's great. Like, I think when I'm playing him, I'm more just let down with the effect that his drone has on the enemy players. So I don't know if really giving him 2 is great, but it does mean he will have the ability to obviously have 2 cameras in different positions, which, along with the buff on getting more cameras, could be really important. Like, intel is really important. So having 2 of these yokai drones in really strategic positions could be really, really good. And then they have a couple of known issues so far. So Clubhouse appears in the custom game list but is not playable. Clubhouse, we do know, is getting a rework. So is it possible that they pulled it from this patch, because it might be coming in our test server pretty soon, maybe? And if a player leaves the game where their yokai drone is deployed, they will disappear. Lone Wolf Terrorist Hunt does not launch on first try. Occasionally players can be stuck in their spawn. Oh, that's going to be lovely to play in the test server. But yeah, there we go, guys. That is the test server notes. Like I said, there's no currently a date, but I do expect it to be out within a day, probably. But I guess it could be a couple of days. We'll have to wait and see. Certainly this weekend is more than likely going to be the time to play the test server. So yeah, great changes. Looking forward to it. Very excited, because there's some major changes and it's going to be really interesting. And yeah, I'm really happy with this. So anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll catch you next time.